It's that hashtag time. We are throwing it back. Throw up your TBTs because it's a Thursday if you're watching this, if you're not watching the full show. And yeah, we're going to go back in time and we're going to appreciate what the world of cinema had to give us this week in the past.
Yeah, nothing for the 30 years this week. Now, what's interesting is there's very little that came out 30 years ago in August, which again, kind of just is a wider reflection on when people say, oh, they don't make original movies anymore. And it's like, well, there's actually never been a time in Hollywood history where more original movies have just been made. You're just not going to see them. Take a case in point. Look at the movie releases 30 years ago. Not much was happening. Look at movies 10 and 20 years ago. Progressively a lot more. But 10 years old, AJ, the second in this franchise, which always hurts, right? Well, always sucks. Not as good as the first movie, in my opinion, but still fun. Kick-Ass 2.
This was a weird film.
Right?
This was a weird film. I remember getting excited. It was fun seeing Jim Carrey, and it was like, okay, here we go. But it wasn't Kick-Ass 1, which was insane. I remember watching them back to back. I'd seen them both, and I was like, it's there, but it's not. You know, even the good old JC couldn't save this one. Put it that way. It was just lacking. It was fun though. It was fun. As a completionist, I'd give it a watch it. You know, it's not going to rock your world, but it's not going to ruin your world either. You know, just more of the same, but just not as good. So for me, if you're a completionist, by all means, if it's something to be like, if I miss it, it's there. So it's a very bland mid side. It's not up, it's not down. You're just a straight mid.
I'm going to completely co-sign that. I think the first of this franchise is an absolute revelation in perfectly mixing hyper-violent superhero and kind of slapstick in a way. It was just a perfect kind of storm in a teacup. This didn't have it. And I think the thing that cost this the most, despite Jim Carrey being there, the lack of Nick Cage as Big Daddy, man. Like, that guy really was needed. And him not being there, you felt it. And the second movie was a bit of a letdown for me. So also, mid-range. It's not a bad movie, but just when held next to the first one, your life will be no less complete if you never see this. However, I strongly recommend you see the first one if you haven't. It's fantastic. And 20 years ago, AJ, from the world of horror, but yeah, more your brand of horror than my brand of horror. Definitely more your brand of horror than my brand of horror. Not a great film. You may not have seen it, but geeky fun. 20 years old this week, AJ. Freddy versus Jason.
I actually have this on DVD, believe it or not. This is one of those films that I had on my collection. I had Alien versus Predator. I had Freddy versus Jason.
The funny thing about evil said about Alien versus Predator, it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. This was weird because here's the thing. As a kid, I'd seen Nightmare on Elm Street, the TV series, so I knew both of these characters very well. But because I was so young, I wasn't aware of what I was watching about Freddy being the guy who creeps into your dreams. So funny enough, it was a bit of an education for me. I was like, he's just in the dreams, really? Is that the story? Is that what I was being reintroduced to the character. It was average. Like again, it's such a weird mix of like two great hitters going at it, and you're like there, and I don't want to go into spoiler, but I just remember the closing scene of it where they're both in the underworld essentially, and you're just seeing this part of Freddy talking, and that's all you can see of Freddy essentially. Again, not going into spoiler territory. And I was like, oh, is that how we're ending this film? Okay. Kind of felt like, will they make a part 2? Will they not? I didn't need to see a part 2. It worked. It just worked but it's very much using two franchises as the hype. It's a hype machine movie. It's not a must-see. It's a hype machine. I don't want to be that guy, but once again, I'm going to quote MJF. Mid. It's just there. It's not crap. It's definitely not great. It's mid. Very mid.
Yeah, to quote Ronda Rousey, and the crowd goes mild.
Exactly.
But look, it's harmless. It's not one of those movies that's so bad that it's going to like offend you to your core. It's also not one of those it's so bad that it's good. It's just there. I think it's a bit of harmless popcorn, Coke and popcorn fun. If you like the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street franchises, there's some fun to be had here seeing these two titans of horror go up against each other. And in terms, unlike Godzilla versus Kong, where I think it's like who wins, wow, here it's like who wins, who cares?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna co-sign with you on this one. It doesn't get the Julius Caesar thumbs up or down. It's like, yeah, you can live to fight another day. You know what? If you are a completionist and you've seen all of them, yeah, check it out. It plays with the lore very nicely, but don't expect to be like blown away or anything.